Hello and welcome to the Run Testers. My name's Nick, and in this video we're going to be comparing the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris and the Nike Alphafly 3. So the Metaspeed Sky Paris and the Alphafly 3 are two of the big new carbon shoe launches this year. I think they're the best two new carbon shoe launches this year, with a tip of the hat to the Hoka Cielo X1, which I think is great, and indeed the Edge Paris, which we haven't tested yet. I think they're the two shoes I rate most highly of all the carbon shoes out there, so I thought it'd be good to do a comparison of them to see which one I think is better. The Metaspeed Sky Paris is certainly a much cheaper shoe. It's £220 in the UK and $250 in the US, whereas the Alphafly is £285 or dollars. The Metaspeed Sky Paris is also the lighter shoe. It's 188 grams or 6.6 ounces in my UK size 9. The Alphafly is 220 grams or 7.7 ounces in the same size. The Metaspeed Sky Paris is a 5mm drop and the Alphafly has an 8mm drop, and they both have stack heights that are near enough 40mm at the heel, as you'd expect to be in line with World Athletics regulations. With the Asics design, you've got a new midsole for the Sky Paris, which is FF Turbo Plus, which is lighter, softer, bouncier than the FF Turbo we saw on the Metaspeed series in the past. You've got a wider carbon plate in the shoe as well, and you've got a new Motion Wrap 2.0 upper, which is a bit lighter, a bit more breathable. There's not much padding going on apart from at the very back of the shoe. Tongue is very thin, and in general it's a very lightweight, racing upper. You've got an Asics grip outsole, which has decent coverage on the forefoot, two strips at the back which don't extend all the way back, and then lots of holes on the forefoot as well, which obviously helps keep the weight down. Interestingly, the midsole doesn't have a really big cutout, which is something that's pretty par for the course of super shoes these days to reduce weight. You can see this one on the Alphafly here, but despite the fact the Asics doesn't have one, it is still a very lightweight shoe, obviously. With the Nike, you've got an Atom Knit 3.0 upper, you've got a booty style fit as opposed to the more traditional fit of the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris. Fair bit of structure around the heel as well, and quite a high tab to hold the back of the foot in place. Obviously you've got Zoom X foam midsole, the same foam Nike's been using for years, the PEBA based foam with Air Zoom pods under the forefoot to give a bit more pop in that part of the shoe. Full length carbon plate, obviously there's also a full length carbon plate in the Metaspeed Sky Paris. I didn't mention that, but they both have full length carbon plates, as you'd expect. And then you've got a far shot rubber outsole on the Nike, which has good forefoot coverage, two large sections at the back of the shoe, which obviously are a little bit further back than the ones on the Asics, which will help a little bit with durability and grip at the heel. So when it comes to the fit of the two shoes, I've got my normal running shoe size in both, which is a UK 9, a US 10 with both brands. They both fit really well for length. I'd say I'm someone who's a slightly small UK 9, and these have quite dialed in fits, but that's what you want in a racing shoe. I would say stick to your normal running shoe size. The fit has been secure and comfortable for me, in all areas of the shoe when running long distances in both of these shoes, but I do prefer actually the feel of the Asics. I think this Motion Wrap upper I really liked on the previous versions of the Metaspeed and also the Magic Speed 3. It really disappears on the foot, and you get a really good hold around the heel without any irritation of the Achilles. I've not had any real irritation with the Nike either, but you can see there's a bit more potential to aggravate the Achilles with the higher tab you have on the shoe. So as I mentioned at the top, I think these are the two standout carbon racing shoes of the year so far, and I've used them a lot during my testing because I've loved running in them so much. I've done 125k in both of these shoes. I've raced in both of these shoes. I've gone over 20 miles in both of these shoes, and I've done a lot of hard sessions in both of them as well, just because I really like using them, and I think they are, like I say, the standout options out there. So I had the Alphafly 3 in first, and when I was testing it, I 100% thought this is going to be the best carbon plate shoe of the year. Like, I had no faults with it. I loved using it. I did say in the review that I thought it was the best carbon shoe out there, and I didn't really expect any to come along and beat it. It's lighter than the past Alphaflys. You've got this new continuous midsole design without the almost decoupled design you had because of the cutout in the midfoot, and that creates a smoother, faster ride that pushes you onto those Air Zoom pods really effectively and gives you a lot of propulsion from that. It feels lighter, nimbler, a bit more like the Vaporfly than past Alphaflys, but you're still getting that booming bounce from the big slab of Zoom X. You're really creating, I think, the best of all worlds when it comes to Nike shoes we've seen to date. So I've raced 5k and 10k in the shoe, and I do think it probably excels even more over longer distances, but I really thought it was very good over 5k and 10k. I've done a hard 20 miler in it as part of a marathon training, which felt fantastic. And I've also done short track workouts in the shoe going down to kind of 1k reps or even faster than that. And yeah, it has felt really, really good. It's got that explosive, bouncy ride you expect from Zoom X foam from the Alphafly, with a slightly more aggressive, tippy forward feeling, I think, than previous versions of the shoe. Maybe not quite as bouncy as previous versions. It's something we've discussed on the channel with Tom still preferring the Alphafly 1, but I think the faster transition and the way it pushes you onto the Air Zoom pods makes up for it, or more than makes up for it, with the Alphafly 3. So huge fan of the Nike Alphafly 3. Then the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris came along last month and made me very much reconsider what my top racing shoe of the year is. It really is basically perfect, I think. It's got such a lightweight design and it still packs in a whole load of bounce. It's not quite as bouncy as the Alphafly, I'd say, but the transition is faster, more aggressive. You really feel the carbon plate under your forefoot without any kind of harshness. You just feel that propulsive spring from it in line with this new foam, which is softer and bouncier than the previous versions of the Metaspeed. It really just creates a fantastic package where you're moving through your foot strike very quickly, getting a whole load of punch off the toes and having that really lightweight feel. That means you can pick your feet up really quickly. If you are a high cadence runner like myself, even though this is the shoe aimed at the bounders, I still think it really helps with the high cadence because it is so lightweight and it is easy to engage the plate on the shoe and get bounce from it. Like I think sometimes maybe a little bit with the Sky in the past, it was aimed at bounders. I think I had to be running in a certain way to actually really unlock the real benefits of the plate by having that slightly more loping style. But with the new version of the shoe, I find that I really feel the spring from the plate very easily, even when shuffling along towards the end of races. I've done several very hard sessions in the Metaspeed Sky Paris during the kind of the meat of my marathon training. I've gone sub 16 at parkrun for the first time. I've run a 70-30 half in quite windy and hilly conditions, and I've run a really hard track session in the shoe as well. And every single time I've run in it, it's impressed me more. So I finished up my testing of the Metaspeed Sky Paris thinking this is the shoe for me. This is, I think, the best carbon shoe on the market. But I was aware that I'm probably the fittest I've ever been when I've been testing this shoe because I've had a really successful marathon training block. I've done higher mileage than before. I thought, well, maybe I'm just testing it at exactly the right time to really be impressed by a shoe, and actually I'm just fitter than before. So took the Alphafly 3 out for another hard workout the other day after testing the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris. So I was doing a progression hour in the shoe, doing the first 20 minutes at 6:20 per mile, the second 20 minutes at 5:45 per mile, and then the last 20 at 5:30 per mile. So good hard workout. Basically, I went into that workout pretty afraid I was going to come out of it very much confused again that I like the Alphafly 3 more than the Asics. I was going to have a real hard decision for London Marathon, which is my big race coming up. Actually, loved the shoe in that workout. Finished the workout, though, convinced that the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris is my preferred shoe of the two. Like, the Alphafly 3 still felt great, but do think the faster, more aggressive transition I get from the Asics suits me more as a runner. Did also do a short run wearing both shoes at the same time, and you do feel the bounce, and you certainly hear the bounce in the Alphafly. It's the louder shoe of the two. I don't think the Asics is a particularly quiet shoe, but the Alphafly is louder, as is always the case with Nike's super shoes. You can feel the bounce of the shoe, and it really does work in driving you onto those Air Zoom pods, and then you spring off and you feel really good, but it almost felt like, oh yeah, I can feel the Nike moving me onto the forefoot, but the Asics, I'm already there. I'm just already there, and I'm moving on, and I've gone through my foot strike, and I'm onto my next stride, and it just feels like such a fluid and fast shoe. I really like the way it feels on the ride, so yeah, running in both shoes at the same time, both felt really good, but again, Asics I think just had the preferable ride feel for me. One last note from the run test would be durability. It has been really good in both shoes so far, so like I say, I'm at about 125k, no real loss of bounce, anything like that in either shoe. They're both a bit scuffed up, got a bit muddy. The Asics is losing a bit of this yellow section, which I don't think is a problem, but some people might like the fact it's losing a bit of that. Obviously the Nike has the rubber right at the back of the shoe, which does mean it is very well protected there, the foam. With Asics, it never goes all the way back, and I'm a slightly more pronounced heel striker on my left foot. This is my left shoe, bit more scuff up there. Hasn't actually ripped through the foam yet, which it did do at this stage with the Metaspeed Sky Plus, but that will be a small thing for durability if you are a heel striker. But overall, no real concerns about durability with either shoe. So verdict, obviously it's going to be pretty clear, my verdict, given what I said in the run test, but these are both really outstanding shoes, that's for sure. They're great for any distance. I think some might feel that the Metaspeed Sky Paris leans more towards short distances and maybe feels like the Alphafly leans more towards long distances, but I think they're amazing across all distances. Very happy racing 5Ks in the Alphafly, certainly very happy to go and do a marathon in the Metaspeed Sky Paris. Overall, as I've said, I prefer the Asics, and the ride feel really is the key to that. It feels more aggressive, I feel like I get a fast transition, I love the lightness of it. I really think it helps me as a high cadence runner to pick up my feet. But that lightness doesn't come at the expense of bounce and propulsion. You're still getting that with this shoe. It's a really lightweight shoe, but you've still got a high stack of a very impressive foam. And I really feel the drive from the carbon plate and the foam combined at the end of my foot strike, even when I'm really tiring, like as I was in that race in the half marathon I did in the shoe. I'm sure some runners will prefer the bouncy feel of the Alphafly. I'm not going to say definitively this is a worse shoe than the Asics, but it's got that classic bouncy Nike feeling from the Zoom X foam. Some people will really like that and just stick with it, and you are going to get an amazing shoe, that's for sure. Be very happy if this was the only shoe that existed in the world, the only shoe I had. This has never come out. I'd be very happy going into my London Marathon wearing the Alphafly 3, but overall, like I say, I've just preferred the feeling of the Asics. I'll also say that the Asics does have a couple of objective things that are better than the Alphafly. Most of this is obviously very subjective. It's my opinion on the shoes, and I have preferred the Asics, but the objective things are that it's considerably lighter and it's considerably cheaper, and those are both very good things in racing shoes because, you want your racing shoe to be light, and given how expensive carbon shoes are, it's nice to spend a little bit less. It's also been more widely available. I know people talk about on the Alphafly videos, what's the point of comparing it to anything if you can't buy it. Some point in the future, the Alphafly will be easy to buy, but right now, the Asics is a lot easier to get hold of, and I think you can go into it and buy it without thinking, oh, if I'm buying this, maybe I should wait for the Alphafly. I'm going to buy the Alphafly eventually anyway. I think, like I say, I prefer the Asics. You can go ahead and buy it and think you've got the best racing shoe on the market, in my opinion. Equally, if you already bought the Alphafly 3 and managed to get hold of it, you don't have to rush out and get the Asics. This is an amazing shoe. I do think lots of people will find the Alphafly 3 better, and it's equally really good on performance. I just prefer the way the Metaspeed Sky feels. So that is the comparison, I think, of the two best shoes on the market. Right now, Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris locked in as my shoe for London Marathon and my preferred racing shoe overall. The Edge Paris is going to turn up at some point, and hopefully it won't get into my head before London, but we are looking forward to testing that shoe and comparing it to the Sky Paris. I think you're probably going to get quite a lot of similarities between the shoes, would be my gut feeling before we test the Edge, but obviously we'll come back with more on that when we do finally get hold of it. So that is our comparison of the Metaspeed Sky Paris and the Alphafly 3. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.